This is a virtual drag brunch, and we have not yet mastered the technology where we're able to feed you or serve you coffee or mimosas through the interwebs. But if you have your favorite beverage nearby, please feel free to take part as we prep here for this fun, I think it's going to be fun time that we'll spend together. Our special guest today, who will introduce themselves more fully here in a bit, is Starlett O'Hara. And I'm so excited for them to share their art with you. Starlett, what beverage are you sipping on this morning?
Do you want the sexy answer or do you want the true answer?
Let's give them both.
Okay.
We like all answers here.
A cocktail.
All
the
right.
true is generic Pedialyte.
Okay. Very, very sexy.
Very important to stay hydrated during Pride Month.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I think yesterday morning for breakfast, I had a Gatorade to hydrate myself and stay healthy and stuff.
I was a lot of people yesterday in drag for a very long time. And and that's the whole month for me. So I kind of just make sure that I'm up for it.
Yes, that's what you were saying. You spent a lot of time in drag yesterday. So, well, we are officially going to get rolling, and hopefully the people who will find us will find us. And I know that a lot of you for our live events join us later on the recording. And whenever you're watching this, whether it's live in real time or later on the recording, this is such an important event for me, for us, for ICM to be doing this year, because the art of drag, which to me is a very vital expressive art, especially for the LGBTQ plus queer community, is under attack. If you have been paying any attention at all in the United States, you know that. And we really wanted to spend our Pride event this year as ICM calling attention to, I don't even want to say, even though we can't keep our heads in the sand. I mean, drag and the trans community and the whole queer community is really under attack. Yet I really want to celebrate what drag actually is today, as opposed to caving into what people say it is. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Jamie Marich. I am the founder and director of the Institute for Creative Mindfulness. Pronouns are she, they. I am a member of the queer tribe, and Pride has become very important for me in recent years to use our position as mental health therapists to speak truth to what we have to speak truth about. And I'm happy to welcome today my friend and drag performer, Starlett O'Hara, and I'll let Starlett introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Starlett O'Hara. That's Starlett with a T, not Scarlett with a C, because Starlett not K. I have been doing drag for 25 years as of this spring, as a matter of fact. I work at a nightclub called Switch Nightclub in Youngstown, Ohio. I also run the Rust Belt Theater Company, which is the area's only LGBTQ plus alternative theater that also produces locally written material in the Youngstown, Warren, Ohio area. And we've been in operation now for 15 years. And a lot of our shows at the theater deal specifically with the queer experience and minority.
Sorry, go ahead, Starlett.
Oh no, that's okay. Pride Month is always very busy for me with just performing at Pride celebrations. But also it's important to me to do events like this and maybe bring kind of like an understanding of the art form to people that might not necessarily realize that aspect.
Yes. So, Starlett, if we can go heavy right away, what do you really want to say to these lawmakers these Christian quote unquote advocates who are throwing drag under the bus?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, because I was thinking about that this morning, specifically because some friends of mine are currently planning a Pride event in Wellsville, Ohio, and they have been met with a lot of friction, particularly from local religious groups. Mm-hmm. And they had a city hall meeting where people were talking about how against they are having drag people perform in public places, and they actually brought in pictures of drag queens in scantily clad and lewd poses and outfits, and said, this is what drag is. And it made me laugh, because this is also what drag is. You know, you right now you can see very little skin on my body. I would say that, other than my giant man hands, which, I mean, I can't really hide them, you can't even see the skin on my face right now, because there's so much makeup covering my face. So bringing in random pictures that you've Googled of people in drag, you know, on stripper poles is kind of ridiculous, and it just shows the ignorance of what you assume the art form is. It's like any other art form. Just because there are songs about sex doesn't mean that children should not be allowed to listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
There are paintings of naked people doesn't mean that children shouldn't be allowed to look at paintings of flowers. It's just silly. And what I wanted to say to that person, there's actually a picture of him online holding up this laptop, and there's a picture of a drag performer in a breastplate. And the performer happened to be a friend of mine. And so we've been cracking up about it, because the picture was taken at an event where that sort of thing is appropriate.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, it was a burlesque show. So
right.
Of course. But what I really wanted to ask that guy was if I could see his other internet history.
Yes. Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
Because
I have a feeling.
Yes. Most definitely. Because I'm glad we're talking about this, because I have seen you and your fellow drag performers do children's shows where you do Disney songs and encourage young people to be themselves and spread a message of love. And it's really dawned on me in recent months. I think that's what so many of these folks are afraid of, right? Is the message of authenticity that I think drag performers are naturally available to give children.
That's absolutely what it is. It's under the guise of something else, that we're doing something nefarious. My background is actually in children's theater. That's what I studied at YSU. And then I performed in a touring company for 12 years. I went to elementary schools, middle schools, libraries, any place that would have us. And even then, these were shows that were usually based on fairy tales. They were anti-bullying. They were very about diversity and inclusion. And one thing that kind of makes me laugh a little bit is that when I started, I was doing drag at night at clubs, and I was performing for children as Rumpelstiltskin during the day.
Yes.
And the thing that cracks me up about that is that Rumpelstiltskin is a horrible person who steals children.
Yes.
And that's fine. But if I would have been Rumpelstiltskin dressed like this, then a whole lot of people would have been very, very upset about it. Mm-hmm. So much the what, it's the who that they're upset. And pretending otherwise is, well, I mean, I'm not fooled. And I know you're not fooled.
Mm-hmm. So what makes people who love drag love it so much?
There's something very magical about watching someone get up on the stage and just live their fantasy. For some people, they get up on stage and do drag, and what they're living is their truth, and they don't even realize it. People use drag for gender exploration. People use drag just as artistic expression. People do use drag for sex. All of these, just like any other art form. And there's just, over the years, I'm called a drag mother. I have lots of drag children. I have drag grandchildren, and I have one or two drag great grandchildren.
We're getting old, Starlett. Wow.
Drag mother is the person who helps you find your heels, basically. The person that helps you, puts you on stage, whether it's they give you the opportunity to perform, or they help you with makeup and clothes and costumes. They kind of show you the ropes. Mm-hmm. And I've done that for hundreds of people over the years. And one of my favorite moments in the whole world is the first time someone puts on their drag makeup, whatever it is. They look in the mirror, and it's like, have you ever seen a video of a baby bird cracking out of a shell? And it just, That's the look. That's the exact same look that people see when they are in their makeup, their transformation for the first time. And when I'm talking about drag, drag does not necessarily have to do with gender. It's more about artistic expression, in that we have drag queens that run the entire spectrum of gender and of race, of everything. We have drag queens right now. The most popular trend is the idea of the AFAB queen, which is assigned female at birth. And I don't prefer to call them that. I just call everybody drag performers, period. And everybody from somebody who gets up with a little bit of eyeliner and juggles to someone who dresses in a full drag outfit. They're all drag performers as far as I'm concerned. But cisgender women getting up and doing drag, very much like what I'm wearing right now, that is a huge trend. Recently, I participated in a pageant system called the All-Star system. And there are different divisions in these drag pageants. And one is the Princess division that is specifically for AFAB performers. And that is the tightest competition right now. The biggest, the most popular competition. It's also, these performers are bringing some of the most creative and amazing ideas to the table, to the stage. And that's like a huge trend right now. And I think that's amazing, because when I started doing this, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
You had to be a male. You had to, like, and that's all there was to it. And now it's opened up. That's something that I've worked for over many years, specifically at the theater, promoting the idea that anybody can do drag. And your drag is whatever you want it to be. It's your fantasy, it's your cosplay, it's creating a character, or it's taking something that's inside of you and just bringing it out. It can be so many things. So for someone to say that it's just a man in lingerie outside of preschool, like, that's just it's absurd.
Right. So, as a mental health clinician, as a trainer, this is very interesting to me to explore that drag gives us a outlet for having a part express themselves that maybe has been hidden.
Yes.
So, I know mental health well, because I've watched your shows, and I'm just, how impressed I am by the competency you have to discuss complex mental health issues. So let's start with you personally. How has drag helped your mental health?
Well, so I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And as a small child, I would have told anyone that God had made a mistake, that I was supposed to be a girl.
Mm-hmm.
I looked in the mirror, I saw a girl.
Mm-hmm.
My entire childhood, I thought I would be more beautiful if I was born a girl. And that is something that I had a very abusive father, and that's something that was literally beaten out of me. There's a story that I tell sometimes. It was when it clicked in my head that there was something about me that was different than everyone else. And I was at a work picnic for my father, and there were like a lot of children from the people he worked with were there, and there were people playing sports and people playing horseshoes, and a bunch of girls were playing with dolls. And I kind of gravitated toward the girls playing with the dolls. I was like 7 years old, and my sister wanted to play horseshoes. Everybody was bragging, oh, she's a tomboy, she's a tomboy, she's gonna do this and she's gonna do that, and I said to my dad, well, if a girl that likes to do boy things is a tomboy, then what is a boy who likes to do girl things? Be the first time I heard the F slur.
Wow.
And from the moment I think that my father realized that there was something different about me, he exploited that.
Mm-hmm.
He used that. And so I went through a period of especially in my teen years, all the way up into college, where I was trying to present this idea of being as masculine as possible.
Right.
I was terrified of anything, I was terrified of anything on television or media, or like the idea of going to a pride festival. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I was very into church. I grew up in the Southern Baptist Church, which that's a whole other story. But doing drag is what brought me to the conclusion that I consider myself to be non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
I can, and I honestly, and when I say that, I believe that most people are non-binary, because I don't believe in the binary, because it doesn't exist in nature. Nothing
Right.
or the other. Everything is a gradient. Everything. I tell people, even like, you think people are like, oh, well, what's the first thing that we notice as human beings? Light and dark. It's the most primal thing, light and dark. But the thing about light and dark is that all light you can't see, all dark you still can't see. This is in between, is when we can see things. That is a gradient. Like right now, I'm beautifully lit, but there are still shadows. So there's no such thing as the binary. And doing drag kind of led me to understand that. And some days I leave the house and I want to wear a dress, and I don't want to wear makeup, because clothing, as far as I'm concerned, does not have gender either. And I like to be able to encourage and serve as an example for other people that may have grown up the same way that I did, especially why I'm so passionate about drag queen story time, about family-friendly drag events, because I think about what it would have been like to be that 7-year-old that got called the F slur by his dad, to see rainbow flags flying above the courthouse in Warren, Ohio, or to see people that were unashamed and unapologetically themselves in a parade. That could have, I'm not saying that I regret my life or the way that it has turned out, but I think about several problems, several obstacles that would have been a little bit easier to handle if I didn't also have to spend so long trying to come to terms with who I was.
Yes. And I think this is something, Starlett, you and I have a lot in common about. And one of the reasons I gravitate towards your work so much is I grew up in the Assemblies of God with a very hateful father who is anti-feminist, anti-queer, anti anything that wasn't the way his church believed. And it always angers me when I hear politicians and the religious voices that they speak for say that anybody in the LGBT community, especially drag performers, are indoctrinating young children. Because I look at what I received in those churches as some of the most severe repressive indoctrination I got.
The very nature of those kind of organizations, like, and that I think about how that influence made me hate myself for so long. And it was completely unnecessary. They didn't have to do that to me. They don't have to do that to other people. And that's why I will read stories I will read The Hungry Caterpillar to children until they take them for the book forcibly from my hands. Like I never set out for this to be my life's work or my goal. I didn't, but that's what it's become. Mm-hmm. It's another big kind of hot button issue in even in the drag community is the difference between being an entertainer and an activist. And for me, I don't believe that the two can be separated, because I think that drag has roots in activism. And more than anything, people talk about, another issue is talking about pride. Why do we have to have gay pride? And why are you so proud of being gay? And that's not at all what it's about. It's about visibility, and it's about representation. And it's about showing people that they're not alone in the world. I think that sometimes we think that we're alone because other people who are dealing with similar issues are not as vocal, or they're not as visible, or they're not able to be. But the people that are, I appreciate them.
Mhm.
Because then I can look and I can see, oh my gosh, you feel this way too. And then suddenly, I mean, the world is less of a lonely place when you know that there are other people like you. And that's why I'm really excited. Our big Pride celebration is next week,
Yeah.
at Warren, Ohio. It's going to be a very long day, but we are going forward with our children's programming. There is an entirely separate section of the festival. The whole thing is family friendly, but
Right.
there's separate sections specifically for children's theater and that sort of thing. Another thing that kind of makes me laugh a little bit is that people at Pride festivals, they get up in arms about uh, drag that might happen in front of children, but they always have lots of alcohol. Like,
Yes.
there's a
Preach,
tent,
Starlett.
but can't have a drag queen reading The Giving Tree. No, I would never read The Giving Tree. I hate that book. um, but that book, I used to call it, when I was little, I called it The Taking Boy.
Okay. I like that twist on it. I could see you doing a variation.
Yes, The Taking Boy, because I believe that if you are a giving tree, you don't care for the giving tree.
So, oh man, so many places I want to go with this discussion because yes, preach about the things we expose children to. I guess I'll just take a moment to give a little commercial. If you are in the Youngstown, Warren, Ohio, Western PA area, please consider attending Warren Pride next Saturday. I will sadly be in the state of Montana next Saturday. Um, I'm doing some fun things out there, but I'm very sad I'm missing Warren Pride. And yes, if you can take in any show that Starlett does and the group does, the Rust Belt Theater Company does, it's fantastic. Also, in the comments on the Facebook chat, I did put the link to the Rust Belt Theater Company and Starlett's Venmo name if you want to make a tip, because tipping is a big part of drag culture, and I think it would be a great way to show our appreciation for Starlett's art today. And Starlett will be performing for us before we officially close today. But I just want to keep picking your brain because this is such a fascinating conversation, and I know a lot of you who are attending live in real time right now are mental health therapists. This is amazing to see so many people who follow our work professionally here. So if you have a question for Starlett, a lot of appreciations being expressed right now for you speaking out. But if anybody has a question, yeah, go ahead and drop it in. So what have you seen drag, if I can ask, and obviously you don't have to disclose private information of people, but we've talked a little bit about how it's benefited your mental health as a performer and as an activist. What have you seen it done for the community at large in mental health?
Um, well, one thing that I do love about drag is that because we're so visible, drag queens are so visible, and because we're frequently on a microphone, we kind of become the de facto leaders the of
Mhm.
the queer.
Yes.
And that, once again, I ever realized or intended to happen, but it has happened. But one thing that I do love is that it helps people find their voice and also helps them project that voice out into the world. I love watching someone's confidence particularly grow. As the first time somebody gets on stage, it's not usually the greatest thing in the world. I can promise you that the first time I was on stage, it was absolute disaster. But then you do it again, and it's if it's something that you like, then you practice, and then just watching people grow as performers and find different ways to express themselves artistically. And I can't, if you are not familiar with what it's like to be part of a very diverse drag family or drag community, if you go to see a show, and I try to make sure that my performers are all vary in their styles, and I always try to make sure that we have people of different ethnicities. We have people on um, all gradients of the spectrum. Try to make sure that we have people who they do comedy. There are people that do drama. There are people that sing live. Lip syncing is still the standard, actually, but I'm a live singer, and I love to try to push that as well, because for a long time in the drag community, if you did not have a voice that was considered to be passable, which I don't know if you, but you, it was considering breaking the
Okay.
illusion, the illusion of femininity, and that is also the reason that I have a beard, because I keep my beard so that I can, because I want it to trigger a discussion about gender norms. And one of the biggest compliments that I will get from someone is that at first, when they start listening to me sing or perform, they focus on the beard, and then eventually it kind of like fades into the background, and they just see me, and that's the goal. And there aren't, in small communities, we don't have a lot of, and I say some small communities. Youngstown, Ohio is a small city.
Yes.
Um,
My
there
home,
aren't
for people who don't know. Go on.
not a lot of community centers, so the the social aspect for the queer community ends up being gay bars, small
Mhm.
town gay bars. There's actually a documentary called Small Town Gay Bar, which I recommend people to watch, because it gives you an idea of what it's like to live somewhere where it's not as densely populated as, let's say, New York City or LA or Chicago. And so it's hard to meet other people that are like yourself. And so the gay bars kind of become the um, they become like the community center. They become the social club. They become all of that. And I really love that the place where I work now. Currently, I'm the show director at Club Switch, which actually that's where I am right now. I just put up actually one of my dresses. I put it up behind me like a backdrop because it's the dressing rooms aren't exactly glamorous as they are in movies. But so that's the part. That's one thing that's really cool is being. I love the idea of being part of a group of performers, a collective that promotes visibility and diversity in the community. And it's not we're and drag queens are not just um, uh, they're not just representatives of the queer community. We're also representatives of the Black community. We're representatives of for people who are not neurotypical. We run the gamut of all of it, and it's so much bigger than what opponents of drag right now are promoting it as.
Right. Right. And Roshni, who is another ICM faculty member, just made the comment here that the clubs and bars have saved many of our lives. Yeah.
Yes, I actually started doing drag. This is one of the things I asked you earlier, if I could tell any story,
Tell
even
any
if
story. Come as you
I
are, my friend.
I actually started doing drag to meet gay people.
Hmm.
I was 18 years old, and this is really before social media. You could find people online, but not as easily as you can now. And the only way to meet gay people was to go to gay bars, and I was too young to get into gay bars because most of them were 21 and over. So the loophole was that if you did drag, if you were a performer, they would let you in. And at the time, I was dating someone older who knew the ropes, and was like, "Well, you can come to the bars if you are in drag, if you perform." And so I started performing so that I could get into bars and meet people like myself.
Fantastic.
And then I went to college, and of course, you go to university, and you meet lots of intelligent people. But coming from a small Southern Baptist town, it was very different. Like I was the first person I knew that came out of the closet.
Yeah.
Since then, it's been interesting. Of the people I hung out with in high school, if I hung out with five people, four of them are now gay. we didn't we didn't know. We didn't tell each other. It was terrifying. We all went to similar churches. And I was first, and then one after another, people came out. Everybody. It's just interesting how we found each other, I guess, if that makes sense.
It's a beautiful thing. Happens. Really, really is. And yeah, I relate to also to what you said about meeting friends from high school. There's somebody I knew in high school who now performs at your club and in your circles, and when they came out to me, it was like I knew we got along for a reason, even though it was totally different world. So I understand you've prepared something for us to perform.
Yeah. So
There's some things you want to talk about first.
I uh I also I write a lot of music. You know this. You've seen my shows, and I that's actually where my heart lies is the original productions that we do. Because I feel like if you've written something yourself, then it couldn't be more. The message couldn't be more authentic. And so when I was trying to figure out what I would like to sing for you today, this is a song I wrote for a musical called Miss Tuesday Night, and Miss Tuesday Night is it's a comedy about drag pageantry, and
Yes.
it's a bunch of drag queens kind of like battling out for the title of Miss Tuesday Night, which the story behind that is that back in the day, Tuesday night was the night that they put the new drag queens that weren't going to draw a crowd. That really it was kind of like just an excuse to get them there to like bar back. And so the idea of competing for the title of Miss Tuesday Night is just something that makes me giggle because Tuesday night was, in fact, to this day, I'll tell people I don't do drag on a Tuesday. When I'm accepting bookings, I'll be like, "What day is it? Is it Tuesday?" No, I won't do it on a Tuesday, all because of this. But the name of this song is it's called Beautiful, and it's kind of like the ending song of the musical. So if you would you like me to sing it?
Let's go, my friend. I'm so excited.
Hopefully the sound will work. Let me just make sure. Sometimes I want to hide, conceal the way I feel inside, lock it up and throw away the key. And I wish I could disappear forever. Sometimes I feel the urge to be someone other than what I see, looking back from the mirror every day. And I wish I could take a step outside, where I feel beautiful, where I feel beautiful, feeling a feeling I don't think that I've ever felt before. And I start to feel a glow coming from within, when I start to see myself from the outside looking in. And I look beautiful. I think I look beautiful. And I can't believe I never realized before. There is no way to describe the happiness within when you start to see the loveliness that's deeper than your skin. And I will look beyond the things I fear I lack. I'm finally moving on, and I'm never going back. Because I am beautiful. I know that I'm beautiful. And I can't believe I ever doubted myself before. It doesn't matter if I lose. It doesn't matter if I win. I know how far I've come. And I know where I've been. I think think that I'm beautiful. I think that we're beautiful. I think that I'm beautiful. I know that we're beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. Oh, yeah, that brought memories of when I saw Miss Tuesday Night. Oh, one of the many amazing shows that you've written and given to our local community, and just a lot of appreciation and applause expressed on the other end of folks watching the live cast. So, anything that's really on your heart that you want especially therapists to know right now as we're discussing this topic?
I, I I don't know that I have. I don't know that I have. I'm trying to think what would have been helpful to me, because I'm no stranger to therapy. um, I think that the most important thing is to remember that so many people in the queer community are coming from a place of very, very deep-seated trauma. Um, and a lot of times they don't realize it. I didn't realize how bad it was until I started going to therapy, and we started kind of like dissecting some of the memories and the reasons that I do things. I didn't like I say that like this was not my intention, this path that I have set out on, but when I look back, it makes the most sense for me to be doing this. It makes the most sense for me to speak out and to help younger people, because that's the person that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the person that I needed to see, the person I needed to talk to, you know, and especially when it comes to young people, because no matter how much more visible things have become, no matter how much more mainstream drag and just queer culture has become, it's still not enough for young people to feel like they are safe enough to come out of the closet to their parents, to their friend. It's not enough. Um, and that's why the suicide rates are still horrific, especially for trans youth. When I think back to a time where I truly believed that would I would die before I told anyone. I would die before I told anyone I was gay. Like that's terrifying to me. And I know other people feel that, because that's what I felt. That's how my church made me feel. That's how the people around me made me feel. I thought that I would never, ever be able to live authentically. And so if I were to say anything to therapists specifically, if you are, especially if you're not a member of the community, if you're an ally, it's so much worse than you can imagine. And the thing that's very difficult for me, and I'm sure that we've talked about this,
Mm-hmm.
still in the back of my head, Jamie, it's still the religious upbringing, you may end up in hell, I don't believe that. I do not believe that. But the voice will always be in the back of my head. It will never go away. It's learning to quiet that voice and to drown it out. And I want to tell this story real quick, if we have time. Last year at Pride in the Valley, first time in 25 years of doing drag, I was approached and harassed by a protester. There are usually at any Pride event, there's someone holding a sign, and I honestly, I usually offer to buy them a sandwich, because I figure if I buy them a coffee or a sandwich and we have a conversation, it's a little bit more difficult to hate me, if you understand where I'm coming from. Well, I didn't have the opportunity to do this with this person because I was performing a children's show and actually wearing the gown that is behind me. And this man came up on the stage with a megaphone. And because maybe I'm a little bit naive, or maybe because the rest of the day was so overwhelmingly positive, it didn't register in my head at the time that this was a bad situation, that this was a dangerous situation, and that this person was acting out of malice. And so it took me a moment to realize what was happening. And it wasn't until I heard the word pervert. It wasn't until I heard him call me a pervert and accuse me of grooming children. Now, I had just got done singing a Disney song about inclusion specifically. I'm pretty sure it was "Let It Go" from from Frozen, which I mean, and I didn't at that moment. I had to think very quickly about how I was going to react to this, and my biggest fear was I did not want to traumatize the children in the group. I wanted to punch this man in the face,
Right.
taken him out very easily. But I was not going to do that in front of 300 children. And I also didn't want them to be afraid of him, and I didn't want them to hear him because he had a megaphone. But I had a microphone, and I had my drag family with me. And so the first thing that came to my head was there's a song that is, it has given great comfort to me in many times in my life. And it was my default on that day. And I just started singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is a song that my grandmother used to sing to me when I was little, long before I had any idea that it was a big song for the gay community, long before any of that. This was the first song I ever learned. And I just started singing it. And one by one, members of my drag family joined me on stage, and we all blocked this person so that the kids couldn't see him anymore and couldn't hear him because everyone was singing, because everybody knows the words to that song. And eventually he was chased off. He was chased off by a group of non-binary teenagers, which is my favorite because, and the reason I know that they were non-binary is that they had flags. They had pride flags with non-binary colors, and they were the ones that chased this person off. And that moment replays in my head over and over again, because while it was terrifying, and while it could have gone down way worse, the fact that the young people, which represent the future, were the ones that got rid of that person, that ran him off, that gives me hope. That gives me hope that when it comes to equality and inclusion, that this is a waiting game. This is a waiting game, and in time, everything will be better. And I really hope that young people get to grow up in a better world than we did. I'm sorry, but but just the idea of drowning out hate with love, I think is one of the most successful ways to promote progress, especially in marginalized communities.
I'm really glad you shared that story because that was, I mean, it's now this, I hate to say, minimize the pain of what happened, but your response to that is now legendary in the Youngstown Warren community of how you handled that. And I'm wondering, because, even as you were talking, and I've shared this in my other writing about how the Wizard of Oz and Judy Garland and all the pain she was going through singing that song, it reached me as a little kid in a religious house in a way I would not realize until many years later. And I hear your message so deeply that even in this sea of hate, can we keep loving anyway? Yeah, we get angry and we protest and we advocate and we stand up, yet can we keep loving anyway? And that's a big takeaway. So, if this wouldn't be too much, I'm wondering if you would have a willingness to sing a chorus of it and we could sing along with you. You won't hear us, but it might be a nice way to end this beautiful time we've had together for us to be filled with the rainbow in our voice.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. One day I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, and why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I?
I'm just sitting with the vibration of that. A lot of people are sending their appreciation through to you, Starlett.
Thank you. This is not how I intended this to go. I wanted to be happy and smiley, and
Well, I think we had some happy and smiley moments, and a lot of people, shared great appreciation for your commentary on the giving tree. So we had our happy, smiley moments and we had our serious moments. And I think as therapists, it is our role to navigate people through all those emotional journeys. And a message that I always give to people, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a general member of the community, whether you work in wellness in any way, is that never doubt that it is advocacy to be yourself unapologetically. And you will learn to navigate how loud you get, how outspoken you get, depending on what privilege you have in certain settings, et cetera, looking at your safety, et cetera, et cetera. Yet your existence is advocacy. And Starlett, I thank you for yours. So tell us how people can connect with your work.
um, well, I've already mentioned, I work at Club Switch in Youngstown, Ohio, and then the Rust Belt Theater Company, which is our I'm so proud of that company because it's a little gem in this community for a small city to have its own theater that produces original work. At this point, we've written 16 original musicals, countless numbers of plays. And you can find information about that mostly on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And I also I post a lot of content on my social media as well. That's where I like to try out kind of like new music. And I'm in no way a social media mogul. I just I put it there mostly so that I have a record of it, and to see what people's reactions are. Sometimes if I think something is awesome, or if I'm starting a project, I'll put a little teaser on there and I'll see, does it resonate with people? Does it resonate the way I want it to with people? And so following me on social media is fine as well.
Yep, I put all of the appropriate tags here in the comments for this live cast, which will also replay on Facebook so people have access to it. And also put the Venmo link, Robert-Joki. It's there in the comments. If you'd like to tip them for their time today and sharing so freely with us. It's always a pleasure. You know what a fan I am of you and your work, and I just attest to the gem that is the Rust Belt Theater Company. Uh, I am from the city of Youngstown, Ohio. Grew up on the West Side, went to Cheney High School, and every time I go to a Rust Belt show, I'm just filled with such pride that something like this exists in my hometown. And you've just given tremendous voice to so many people over the years. And if you are in the Youngstown Warren area ever in a December, their legendary show is called How the Drag Queen Stole Christmas. And I know that's a lot of what started your journey with your own company. And to me, it's just a big testament to your creativity. Yet you've also written some really deep shit too. And for that, we're grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Happy Pride, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Pride.
Bye. Bye.